Hello everyone. In this lecture, we are going to study about the fourth unit, which is more control flow tools. In the last lecture, we have studied about the third unit, which is an informal introduction to Python. So, in this, we will start with the some of the most common control flow statements. So, as well as the while statement just introduced, that means in the last unit actually, which is the third unit, in that while statement has been introduced. Okay. And also I have made the lecture for that. So if you have not watched, you can go and see it. So while statement has been discussed, which is one of the type of control statement. So in the similar way, Python uses a few more that we will encounter in this chapter. So few more control flow tools are there, which we will be seeing in this particular lecture. Okay. So the first one is if statements. So perhaps the most well-known statement type is the if statement, right? It is one of the most common and one of the most used control flow statement, right? Not only in Python, but also in other languages. So this is one small code demonstrating that how do we write the if-else statements and all, right? So as you can see here, x is equal to some input has been taken, and then if some condition is checked, right? If the condition is true, then we will come inside and these instructions will be executed. Okay. Then if let us say this condition is false, in that case the next condition, which is elif, that will be executed. Okay. So first of all, the condition will be checked, x is equal to 0 or not. If this condition becomes true, then it will print 0. Otherwise, if this is also not true, then it will go to the next condition, which is written using elif. In that the condition is x is equal to 1. So if this condition is true, then single will be printed. And otherwise, let us say all these conditions became false, right? So then it will fall to the else statement. So in else, we don't write any condition because else is the last like part. Okay, that if none of the condition executed, then finally whatever is the remaining, that for that remaining part you have to print whatever, or whatever action you have to take, you can take the action. So that is why in else we don't write any condition. Okay. So now as it is already written here, that let us say if you take the integer input as 42, in that case what will be printed on the screen? So it will be printed more, right? So you can take the code, as I have already said that in this button if you click, then only the code will be available, no comments, no primary or secondary prompts, and nothing will be there. Okay, no output. So directly you can take this, you can copy and paste in your terminal or editor wherever, and you can see that what output is coming. So you will get the output more if the integer you are giving as 42, right? Why it is? So let us dry run it a little bit. So first of all, we are taking the input 42. After that, this condition will be checked, which is 42 less than 0. Now it is not, right? The condition is false, so it will come to this condition. Here it will check 42 equal to 0. This is also false. Then here it will check 42 equal to 1. So this is also false, and that is why it will come to the last else part, and here it will print more. Okay, but let us say if I am giving some negative number, then here itself the condition will become true, that yes, x is less than 0, and in that case x value will be set to 0 and your output will be negative changed to 0. Okay, so this is how multiple different types of inputs you can take. You can also take decimal input and see that how it is comparing what it is doing. Okay, so and otherwise we will go to the terminal and we will see some of the inputs and outputs. Okay, but before that, let me just quickly complete this section. So here it is saying there can be 0 or more elif part. So here whatever this elif parts are there, like in this particular example, 2 has been used, 2 elif parts are there. So it is optional. It can be 0 also, that means there is no elif, or it can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 100 also. Maybe a very big conditional statements and all, you have to write multiple cases are there. So for handling that, you may use 100 elifs also. So it depends on the situation. Okay, and the else part is optional. Also this else part, it is not mandatory that you have to use So as per the requirement, if you need it, then you can use else part, okay? But if is definitely compulsory. Like for checking the condition, you have to start with if. After that, elif you are adding or else you are adding or not. These things depends on the situation, okay? All right. So actually, what is the meaning of this elif? This keyword elif is short for else if. Now you might be knowing else if, right? If you have done programming in C, C++ or Java, then maybe you're aware of this word else if. So else if only in short it is written as elif in case of Python, okay? And is useful to avoid excessive indentation, because you know that in Python we have to take very extreme care of indentation and all. So for avoiding that, because if two words are there, so again for those spacings and all you have to take care of that. That is why for avoiding that, the word has been merged into a single word, okay? After that, an if elif sequence is a substitute for the switch or case statements found in other languages. So again, if you have done C, C++, Java kind of languages, then maybe you have studied about switch case, right? So switch case is used for checking, means some condition is there, and for that multiple cases are possible. As per different cases you have to perform different actions, right? So that whatever we do using switch case in other languages, for that you can use if else only directly, right, in case of Python, okay? So for that you can use. Now if you're comparing the same value to several constants, okay, so one value is there and you're comparing it with several constants, okay? So one value is there, let us say x. Now x you're comparing to 0, also you're comparing to 1. If you're comparing to 2, means if it is 0 you have to perform something else, if it is 1 you have to perform something else, right? So if that kind of situation is there, or checking for specific types or attributes, you may also find the match statement useful, okay? So in Python we don't have switch, but we have something called match. So if such kind of scenario is there where the same variable you have to, you know, compare with multiple different constant, you can go for the match statement. So about match statement in detail we will be studying in 4.6. So let me show you that from here itself. So here we are having in 4.6 this match statement, okay? So we will be studying that in some separate video, okay? So this was all over about if. It is used for checking condition, right? If the condition is true, then it executes the action inside it. If you don't want to, if the condition comes false, then it will flow to the other conditions if provided, right? So this is the basic use of if else, okay? So let us go to the terminal now and let us understand that how to do it practically. So we are at the terminal. Here first of all you have to invoke the interpreter. So by writing Python 3, and you will get the primary prompt first, right? So after this you can take some input, let us say, okay? All right. So here you can take some input. So here integer is taken in the documentation, so I am also taking that int, and in that case input. I'm not writing any message here because those things are not required. We just want to see that how if else work, so it is fine not to take that, okay? So after that, now some input you have to enter first, right? It is waiting for the input. So let us say I am giving 30 as the input, okay? And after this we can write the conditions now. So let us start with if. So I am writing if x is less than 0, right? Then in that case what to do? So it is giving the secondary prompt, right? So you have to enter a tab, then it will mean that you are inside the block, right? That indentation you have to maintain. And after that you can print something. So print, you can like print negative maybe, okay? And otherwise, so if other task also you want to do, then you can do that, okay? But here I want to show you something, that it is not always necessary that after if, else or elif has to be there. So I am just ending the if statement here itself, and let us see that it is valid or not, that only if is there and else, elif, nothing is there, right? So in that case if I just hit enter, so Yes, you see it got executed, right? Because the next primary prompt is coming. I did not get any error also, and nothing got printed. Why? Because here I have given condition for x less than 0. So if x is less than 0, then negative will be printed. But here right now my input is 30, which is greater than 0. So nothing happened. So for that, any task, any action I have not performed, right? So it can happen that you don't have any action to perform. So you can leave it, okay? So again, let me write the condition. If x is greater than 0 this time, and print x, okay, print x. So if the number is positive, then what it will do, it will print that particular number. Again, I'm not writing any else or elif. So now it is printing 30. So since the condition is true, that is why this inside whatever statement is there, that is getting executed. So 30 is printed, okay? So I hope this is clear to you. After that, now let us start with if else. I am not adding any elif, right? Because it was written elif can be 0 or more. So let us say I am writing if x is greater than 0. In that case, you print the number x, and otherwise, so else I have to start from here itself, right? Else will not be inside if block. It will be outside the if block, right? So I will start from here itself. So else what to do? I will print negative, right? So that means basically it is the above two things only which I have merged here. So negative, right? So now after this, I don't want to do anything. If and else done, completed, nothing, no other action to perform. So in that case, if I hit enter, then what is happening? 30 is printed, okay? Because here, if x is greater than 0, then print x. So 30 is greater than 0. That is why it is printing the number, okay? But else is also there. So only if and else can be there. Elif is optional, okay? And now let us add elif also. So if, let us say, x is less than 0, then print negative, and after that elif. Now I am adding elif, but that also only one, okay? Elif, so some other condition, maybe if x is equal to 0, then what to do? Then I have to print what? Positive, okay? And then, sorry, it is not positive, it has to be 0, okay? Anyways, okay, I just that is not like any syntax error is not there, it just got wrong with the logic, but anyway, it is okay. We just have to see the output. So here now you can print maybe x, okay? So now nothing to do, and now 30 is getting printed, right? So like this, actually this if elif ladder you can write like this, okay? That if x is less than 0, then negative will be printed. If elif x is equal to 0, it should have been 0, but I mistakenly wrote positive and we cannot edit it back, so it is okay. But the thing is that we just have to understand that how this construct is working, and I think that now you're clear with, since here both of these condition became false because 30 is not less than 0, 30 is not equal to 0, and because of that it came to the else part and it is printing only x, right? So like this you have to do it, okay? Also, if you want that the condition should be true always, then you can directly write here true also, okay? If true directly, and in that case, because if true I have written, right? So that means automatically the value is true there. So whatever now inside action you are performing, it will always be performed, okay? So let us see that if true, then print always action is performed, okay? All right, so this is what, okay? So here you see, here any number I have not given any as such condition, I'm not checking by giving greater than, less than, any relational operator basically, but still what will happen, that the line is printed, because this true means always it is true, okay? So inside whatever is happening doesn't matter, always the condition will be true only. After that, one more thing is there, that any non-zero number is considered as true, okay? Any non-zero number, it can be your integer number, okay? So it can be your negative, let us say minus 45. If I write if minus 45, so basically minus 45 means actually it is true because it is non-zero. So then print print high. Okay, if I do this, then what will happen? So it is printing high, see. So if it is printing high, then what is the meaning of this? Meaning is that this condition is true. Only if this condition is true, then we can come inside and the action will be performed. So if action is performed, that means what? That means this condition is true. So minus 45 is considered as a true value. Okay. Similarly, if I take some positive value, let us say something 23, if 23, then in that case, if I print something else, that is hello, in that case, it is printing hello, right? So in this way, it is considered. Now if I take here 0, if 0, let us say, now 0 is considered as false. 0 means only false. Okay, so now if I print something, that print high only, okay, in that case what will happen? It is not printing anything. See, earlier this output was coming, hello was printed, high was printed, but this time high is not printed. Why? That means if did not get executed, right, this condition became false, so that means 0 means false. Okay, now let us try with decimals, that if I give some decimal, maybe 8.4, then what is going to happen? Okay, so I am printing something, print Python. In that case, what it will print? So it is printing Python, right? So any non-zero value, so decimals can also be there. Okay, so any non-zero value has to be there. Okay, so negative decimals will also work in this way, right? Okay, so this is how if works. Elif works like this. Multiple conditions you can keep on associating like this, and then at last if you have to do some action for the worst case, when none of the actions are when none of the conditions are true, in that case you have to go with the else part. So this is how we write if elif else. So I will recommend that you practice a lot of questions, okay, and you solve like a even odd problem and positive negative zero checking, such kind of problems you try, and if you face any difficulty, then you can comment and I will try to help. All right. After that we have the for statement, right? So the for statement in Python, what it does, so it is just like your loop only, right? Just like your while loop only. Okay, so in Python we are having just two types of loop, while and for. There is no do while loop as you have studied in Java, C, C++ and all. Okay, so the for statement in Python differs a bit from what you may be used to in C or Pascal. Okay, so in C if you have done, or maybe Pascal language if you have learned, then in there whatever in whatever way you have used for, here in Python it is little different. So rather than always iterating over an arithmetic progression, because you may remember there how we write it generally, the most common for statement is for int I is equal to 0, right? Then we give semicolon and then we write I less than n maybe, and then I plus plus. Okay, so that means there what happens, it starts with some number and arithmetic progression is there, right? Because by a constant value it keeps on adding and it keeps on increasing, right? Maybe some you're decreasing also, I minus minus can also be there, or minus equals to 2, minus equals to 3. So basically it is a kind of arithmetic progression of numbers. Okay, or giving the user the ability to define both the iteration step and halting condition, right? So like in C we have done that both what is the iteration step, by how much you have to increase or decrease, and what is the halting condition, these things we used to give in C, right? So in case of Python, so these things used to happen in C, Pascal and all, right? But in case of Python, what is there? Python's for statement iterates over the items of any sequence, a list or a string. Okay, so using Python we can actually iterate over any sequence. If any sequence is there of some elements, then on that we can iterate using for. Okay, in the order that they appear in the sequence. So how it will iterate, in what order? So exactly whatever order is there in the sequence, in that order only. So if any sequence is there 1 2 3, then like that only it will iterate on that. First of all 1, then 2, then 3, like this. Okay, so here one example is given. So like you see, this program has been written for measuring some strings. Okay, that means the length of the strings they are measuring. So this is a list, right? So this is a sequence only where multiple strings are there. So words is equal to multiple strings are written, cat, window, and then demonstrate. Okay, so Now what we have to do, what is the requirement, that we will go to each of these elements, okay, and then we will print the word also, and along with that what is the length of the string, that also, right? Now in C and all, definitely we would have started from 0, right, till less than length of the array, and then I plus plus, then taking the thing of the string, okay, and then calculating the length and all. So that we would have done, but here it is quite simple. What we have to do, we have to write for W. So W is just a name. You can write here any name, ABCD, anything you can write, okay. So for W, in words, in is a keyword in Python, okay, and words is this list, okay. So that means this W is actually aliasing all these elements, okay. It is like a temporary name given to all these elements. So first of all, W will point to the first element, then to the second one, and then to the third one, because it will move in that order only, okay. So when, let us say, it is at the first element, okay, then what it will do, it will print W. That means this particular element it will print, which has been printed as cat, okay, and then the length of W also will be printed. So what is the length of this particular string? That is 3, right? So cat and then 3 is printed. So in the similar way, after that W will move to the next element, which is window. The word will be printed and the length will be printed, and in that similar way it will move on, okay. So code that modifies a collection while iterating over that same collection can be tricky to get right. Instead, it is usually more straightforward to loop over a copy of the collection or to create a new collection. So here what it is saying, that whenever you are iterating over some kind of sequence like list and all, so it may happen that you are changing it, okay, you are trying to do some kind of modification and all in the list. So it is better that first of all you actually loop over a copy, okay, because like, okay, so with this example I can explain here what is happening, that this users is there, okay. So this one collection is there. It is basically a dictionary, okay, where these are the keys and these are the values, okay. You can understand that by the colon symbol. So like this, some elements are there. Now here, if you see what is happening, you don't have to understand this line, but at least if this line also you see, you can have a brief idea that what is happening. So if status is equal to inactive, that means here anywhere inactive is there, like this one. So it is deleting that, right? It is deleting this completely. So that means the list itself is getting modified. But what is your requirement? Your requirement is this only, na, that one by one you will iterate over everything. Okay, so if you try to iterate, then this has been deleted, the list has been modified. So it may happen that you will not reach that particular element only, which was your requirement. So that is why it is better that you make a copy. On that copy you are iterating, and on the original list you are making the changes, okay. So this is how, if you want to do it, then you have to copy the items in this way. One rough example is given, so you can practice using this. So that is what is said here. Rest you will understand whenever you are doing some kind of program. There itself you will get it, that when to copy, when not to copy, okay. If any list is there, you want to retain all the elements and all, okay, and don't want to make changes in the original one. So as per such situations, you can use all these copy functions and all, okay. All right, so let us go and see some simple for loop examples in the terminal, and then we will understand it better, okay. So here we are at the terminal. Now you can write it like this. So for, so before that you have to take a list actually. So let us say L is equal to something, some numbers I'm taking, 10, 20, 30, like this, 30, 40, okay, like this. And after that I will write the for loop. So for, let us say, now here some variable name you have to take. So I am taking I, okay. So for I in L, okay, so that means I will iterate over each and every element which is present in L, okay. All right, so now inside this what I want to do, so let us say I want to print what I can print, let's say hi, and after that I, okay, which is the elements. So like this is my basic program, and now if I print it, then what output is coming? So high is getting printed, and along with that 10, first of all, because that is the first element, then high 20, then high 30, and then high 40. So in this order, what is happening? The the for loop is working. Okay, so like this on the sequences you can go and execute. All right, so inside this again more for loops you can nest and all. So nesting and all we will see later, and this is how you have to do it. Okay, so one more example, you can take off strings also. Let us say string is there, string list is there, s is equal to maybe some color names are there, orange and then maybe black, like this. Okay, after this you can iterate on that. So for w, or you can write like any kind of name, any valid identifier name you can write. Okay, so for colors in str you can write it this way also. Okay, and then you can print what the color name is, and after that you can write the colors. Okay, means here whatever variable is there that you have to write here, so that is where you can write here colors, like this. So in this case the color names are printed. Okay, so the color name is red, the color name is orange, and the color name is black. Okay, so in this way the elements are printed. Okay, so this is how basically for loop works. You can take any kind of sequence here, and on that sequence it can iterate. Okay, it can also be one simple string. Let us say just a simple string is there, hello Python, like this. Okay, so even this is a sequence, right, because multiple characters are there. So even on this you can run a loop. Okay, that for I in s, like this, and I just want to print it. So print I, like this you can do, and then you see hello Python, completely it is printed. So any sequence it is on that, by using this in keyword you can write it, and it will go to each and every element and perform the particular action whatever you are having. Okay, so this is how for loop also works. So for this also you can write multiple programs. Try by yourself some examples, and again if you have any difficulty then you can ask me in the comment section. So this was about the for loop. So you read today if and for till here, and this range function we will be studying in the next lecture. Okay, so I'm ending this lecture here. Thank you.